father, and
What happened?
she shot my father and killed him when I was a baby, and that's why she did what she did to me, because I'm a spitting image of him.
So, Benjamin, where are you from?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and
it's my hometown.
Is it really? I'm from 7 Mile and Gratiot. East Side. I moved up there when I was 12 because a very abusive mother, and my best friend, his mom adopted me.
Sorry, what happened to your mom?
My best friend's mom adopted me away from my birth mother.
Why did you leave your actual mom?
She was, I don't even want to say abusive. She was a torturer. She was ridiculous. She psychological, emotional, physical abuse, sexual abuse, anything she could do to cause my day to be harder, she packaged it up for me and served it on a cold dish. It was, and when my friend's mom found out about it, she was a paralegal and she got her firm to take the case and fight it. It took 3 years, and they got me from them. And I went from like literally a multi-millionaire family to a blue collar inner city black family in Detroit. It was like the opposite of the Jeffersons. You know what I mean? So I've got a lot of perspective from both sides.
Yeah, you do.
It there's a lot of that yin yang with me. I have a high IQ but a learning disability. You know what I mean? There's always a freaking counterbalance or a caveat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, so it's made my life interestingly difficult appreciate everything I got because I never had it handed to me. I've had to struggle a little harder than the next guy, and I've gotten to where that's the only way I want it.
How old are you?
I'll be 44 in June.
Do you have any kids, girlfriend, wife?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. I married my best friend growing up. We knew each other since we were 2 years old. We didn't get married till we were in our 20s, but we had a daughter in 99. She's 19, going to my alma mater, OSU, right now. 5 years ago, her mother was dropped Lena off at church, and on her way home, picked up some White Castles for us. It was my one day off a week, and was hit head on by a drunk driver and killed. He was a fire chief for the Columbus Fire Department. He was on duty, and he was schnockered. And that was the ultimate unfair thing, because I had it better than I deserved. Most people were like, Figgins, you got a great girl. You got so lucky. And I appreciated it. We finished each other's sentences. We were like that. I still freaking go to tell her a joke, because no one else is going to get it. And it leaves me freaking hollow. And I've got to swallow it and say, you know what, it's part of my path. But I really think that one was not fair, because I came home and I was the guy. I worked. I was a breadwinner. My wife took care of the kid, took care of the house and the business. And I tried to juggle it for about a week and realized I cannot raise a daughter who's 15 years old when I'm working 14 to 16 hours a day, including days a week. She's going to be a latchkey kid, completely unsupervised. There's nobody nearby to help out. So not only did I lose my wife, I had to give my daughter to my in-laws. And I lost both my girls within a week, basically. And my daughter never understood it. She thinks I abandoned her. And she thinks that I ran away to go party and get high and say, fuck you. And I've tried to explain to her 1,000 times. Lena, when you left and your mom wasn't there, I sat in my house and it was just silent. There was nothing. And it was so depressing.
How far away were your in-laws from you?
An hour and a half. I was in, if you're familiar with Ohio, Athens County, down by the Ohio River. Everybody was in Columbus, including my job. I drove 90 minutes to 2 hours each way to work every day. And I freaking sunk into the most brutal...
So your job and your in-laws were near Columbus. Why didn't you just move to Columbus?
Because I had recently inherited my family home that had been started by my great-great-grandfather, built by hand, and every generation has inherited it and added on to it, and I'm the last, and it was important to me to keep it and keep it going, and I couldn't do that with maintaining another property. And you know, we've been established there about a year, and things were good. And I don't know, it just, the logistics of it just wouldn't work out. I kind of had to do it. I was the only one. It would have fallen to pieces if I didn't. So, you know, I pretty much am sitting here now, the last of my line, cut off from everybody, and I came to LA for a new start because I didn't know anybody here, and I had no ghosts and demons, and I could maybe create a fresh slate. And you know what? It's a curse and a blessing because I've never felt, I feel even lonelier here. I really have met a couple people. I can barely call anybody a friend here because I use that word very seriously. You know what I mean?
And what's the story with the house now?
Well, it kind of involves her. Around New Year's, I found this dog. She was unwanted and abused, and I was on my way to jump off the 4th Street Bridge when I came across her. She distracted me because I worked in an animal hospital. I saw a dog in stress, and I took over and kind of rescued her from out from under a vehicle. She freaking leaped into my arms and just she. I've never seen a dog thank somebody so much and bond so quickly. I forgot all about jumping off the bridge, focused on this thing, and said, you know what? It's one thing for me to be out here. It's another thing for a Chihuahua to be out here. I'm going to get you off these streets sooner rather than later. And Department of Mental Health came through uh, recently and got me a transitional housing at the Russ Hotel. And I think I'm a month or two away from my semi-permanent home.
Good for you.
That'll be like an SRO for a year, and then that leads to my the VA is going to grant my permanent housing, which can go anywhere.
So you get a VA check every month?
Yeah, it's I only have a 25% disability. They don't accept my hearing loss. I drove a tank, and most every 19-kilo tanker has some hearing loss. And now they just came out with, when we were in Afghanistan, 3M gave us knowingly gave us defective hearing protection. So that just adds to it. But yeah. I'm fighting them again, and they might play ball with me. I just think my best bet's just to suck it up, finish my last semester at school, and then go back to the workforce and just make my own way like I always have.
So what happened with the house in Ohio?
Well, it was just so depressing there. I had 3 or 4 suicide attempts after my wife and daughter left. I started drinking a lot, self-destructing. So I just had to leave. I found an old friend of the family to lives nearby. Um, they're being very nice and going over there and checking on it and making sure everything doesn't go to pot.
So you still own it?
Yeah, it's still titled to me. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and I really don't know if I could even get much for it out there because it's like I said, with me driving so far, there's no employment nearby, but it's just so. Luckily, the property taxes are cheap. It's somewhat self-sustaining. It's on the last death throes of an old oil well that were drilled there years ago. It's in coal country, so there's lots of mineral. That kind of pays for, like it breaks even pretty much. We're considering throwing some solar in there. I don't know. We're looking at if I get some back pay from the VA from this lawsuit. But I might just, depending on what the VA does with my settlement, you kick it here until everything gets settled with them. And if they're going to go ahead and retire me, I might just go there and retire and just. I think that my attitude's a lot healthier now, and I would set myself up with some bumpers so I didn't go down like that again. But I'd like to return there. I love the peace and quiet and the nature, and it's good for me. And I think without such a horrible situation, I think I could embrace it and give it a good, honest shot. I'd just like to find someone to share it with. That's all. Thank you.
And how are you doing now with alcohol? You're in the middle of Drug Central here.
I actually am part of the deal with getting the housing. This is housing for healthcare, kind of with the H and Triple H initiatives that were passed 2 years ago. It requires mental health care connections, medical care connections, primary care doctor regular visits linked up with them, and drug and alcohol counseling and active participation in a program. So right now I am in twice a week intensive outpatient drug program at Homeless Healthcare for substance abuse. I have a great caseworker there, a great team.
So what drugs were you using?
I was always opiates and marijuana, but I'm on, like, they call it medically assisted therapy. So I take Suboxone every day. It's kind of like Antabuses for alcoholics. It takes the withdrawals away. It prevents you from feeling any if you did use. So it makes it futile. You know what I mean? It's pointless to use, and it gives you that. It gives you what you don't have at the early recovery. Which is best so I can get my patterns established, my connections established, my routine established without having to worry about kicking, physically and mentally one of the toughest substances there is to kick. It's something that's a hell of a lot easier to wean off of. So if I ever do want to move off of it later, that's an option. But right now, everybody agrees this is the best thing, and it seems to be working. I'm giving them clean urines, and that just, something stupid like that just makes me happy. Like it's something I accomplished and I did, and it was like I'm attaining my goals, and that's something I haven't done in 5 years, and it makes me feel good. And I think I'm scratching and clawing my way back to some sort of freaking life, because this almost got me. The homeless thing almost got me to where I was just this angry, muttering, spiteful, antisocial, bucking the societal norms, nonconformist, and just unwilling to participate in society on any level. And God let a little bit of sunshine in, and I just ran with it. And I think I'm going to be much happier if I build my life back instead of just say it's over and just let it go down the toilet. So,
That's excellent.
well, I've got over a dozen suicide attempts, including holding guns to my head. I'm still here, and there's no reason I should be. So I've come to accept that it's not my time. There's a reason I'm not dead, because I have. There's no explanation for it. I absolutely, doctors are baffled. My family's baffled. Anybody around is just like, how the heck did you get through that? It's because there's something on this earth that I haven't done yet. It's bigger than me. I don't know what the hell it is, but some sort of entity in the universe has tasked me with carrying some sort of responsibility through this world, and I think it's possibly teaching somebody something, or possibly mentoring somebody so they don't have to take some of the bumps and bruises I did, but who the hell knows? And I've sort of just said, okay, and I've taken an approach where I'm not actively seeking it, but keeping half an eye out for those breadcrumb trails of, okay, I think I get it.
A few years ago, I started to notice that my hairline was receding. I would find a lot of hair.
Now,
I think you're on something.
my mom shot my father.
What happened?
She shot my father and killed him when I was a baby, and that's why she did what she did to me, because I'm a spitting image of him. As someone who never met their father really, because I was an infant when he passed, I walk like him, talk like him, same sense of humor, and my mom having that guilt. She just used to be like,
So you never got caught?
yeah, but let's put it this way. This happened in the middle of nowhere in the house they just built. Nobody knows what happened but her and my dad and me. But I was a year and a half old. We were the only ones there. My mother, she moved the body. There was enough confusion at the scene to where it wasn't the set. It was the late 70s. You know, the crime solving technology wasn't what it is now, and it looked like a suicide, and they didn't want to. You know, with suicides, they go with kid gloves, and they just kind of okay, and they left it at that. And years later, I just wouldn't give up on it. And I dug at my grandmother, and I said, "What the hell happened?" And she said, "You know what happened. She said, we covered for your mother. We didn't want a tragedy to turn into two. Goodyear Tire and Rubber, that's my grandfather. Like, he was president of Goodyear in Akron. Blue blood, old money. They didn't want a family newspaper headline story, and it was swept under the rug. That's how things were handled back then. And when I pushed my grandmother, she finally came clean, and I pushed it. And
Your grandmother being your dad's mom?
My mom's mom.
Your mom's?
Yeah. It got as far as the prosecutor, the district attorney looked at it, took a really honest stab at a case, and just said, "Benjamin, there's too much hearsay. You know how eyewitness accounts are anyway, and these are 40 years old, and it's just, I'm not going to win this with a jury trial. It's going to drag your whole family through the mud anyway." And you know what? She won. I'm sorry to say it. I know what happened. You know what happened, but we can't get a case out of it. So that's where it stands. Yeah, but I'm just glad I know what's up, and said, my mother's miserable. She's miserable. She's paying for it.
How old is she now?
Born 52, so yeah, she's in her late 60s. She would have to,
So late 67.
I think she's 67 in September. Yeah, she's still around. I guess my daughter went and I told my kid that she happens to be living 3 blocks away from her. I said, please don't be tempted to go over to that lady's house. I know you don't want to grow up without your grandmother in your life. That's not a grandmother. That's something you don't want to play with. And Lena didn't get it. And when I was unable to be reached out here off the grid on Skid Row, she went to my mom and like, hey, where's Ben? My dad is out of communication with me. I need to know where he's at. Do you have any information? She told her I died of drug abuse years ago. And Lena mourned me and cried. And that's her blood, man. That's her granddaughter. And she made her cry and thought nothing of it. And when Lena got a hold of me again, I said, I hate to say I tell you so, dude, but you're petting a snake and you're going to get bit every time with Gail Henshaw. And she said, okay, Dad. I cried, Uncle. And I said, here's an email account. I don't care what happens to me. You can always find me with this, no matter what. And she feels better with that now. So no matter, we're in touch, but we're mending a lot of broken pieces of our relationship, and it's slow going, but it's there. And I hope to see it come all the way back one day. But if by some chance I'm able to be redeemed at the end of my life here on the last half of it, it would be so cool because I've never gotten a chance to do that. I've never gotten at the end to be smiling and feeling satisfied. I always bust my ass, work to the top, and then get kicked back down to the bottom like Sisyphus and his rock. And I'd like to, I think this is going to be my one shot to hold the trophy up and say I did it. And I'm going to say I'm not going to waste that opportunity because they're obviously rare in my world, and I want to run with it.
Good for you.
So I'd like to say we all haven't seen the last of me. Because I got big things coming.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're very welcome.